with Nick Matlack. Thank you so much for taking time. I freaking love Nick. It's been so cool to watch him grow from being like a newer DM to being a top DM. Oh, that happened. Sorry. We're live. All right. Yeah, and just seeing him then have like a breakout year, getting promoted to division coordinator. And he's just been doing some outstanding things and really helped lead Southwest region this summer. So our offices were there right on the top, kicked some major butt. And I was looking through some of the things that have really made, I think about team meetings like this fall. Like we want to rock great team meetings. We want to like what that creates, right? This is our big chance to really impact our team. And I see a lot of team meetings that absolutely freaking blow. And I know this is something that they've had a lot of focus on. And I'd love for you to share, and he had this document, and we can add stuff on here, just what they learned to really help have the most impactful team meetings, so from driving a great phone jam, recognition, teaching through recognition, all the factors. So I printed this out. Everyone should have this and be ready to take some notes on this. But thank you, Nick, so much for taking time out for this. So I'm going to turn you around so you can see everybody.
All right.
And I'm going to mute you so you don't hear yourself in the background too.
All right. Sounds great. I didn't know we could do YouTube live. I wonder how many other viewers are watching right now, but thank you for the time to getting to speak. I'm going to try to keep it short so you guys can do some Q&A at the end. I firmly believe that in our business, we have a retention issue. And I think that if we were to think about the next 5 to 10 years of working with vector marketing, I certainly believe I'll be involved for that amount of time. I hope that you will be too. The number one thing we need to fix is retention. I think that we are the number one recruiters when it comes to any corporation. I think that we have our recruiting systems on lock. And if we don't, we know where to find the answers. We are the best at getting PRs. We are the best at getting campus. We are becoming the best at getting social media. But when it comes to recruiting, we don't retain a lot of the people. I was looking at our division this summer, and over 40% of the people we recruited never even made their first sale. I'm sure you guys have looked at statistics like that for your division as well. I also looked at it, and very few of our people actually made it to 3K and above. And so one of the reasons that I don't think we're very good at retention is because we put so much effort and energy into getting our people tied into a fast start. Hey, let's go through this training. Let's work our butts off. 10 days, win prizes, go big. And then there's nothing after the 10 days that we promote. So I just wrapped up my advanced training 1 right now with my guys. We launched 7 last week. And when I went through my advanced training, one of the number one things I was promoting is, what are you going to do with your fast start results? What are you going to do after your fast start? What is your objective this coming fall? What is the purpose of this job? You've heard Kevin Barth talk about it before. What do you want? Why do you want it? How are you going to get it? Well, I think that for most of us, what we need to build into our programs is something that they start to really sink their teeth into. And so in our organization, we have a concept that we're working on this fall, and we've used something like this in the past. But I'll tell you that my non-summer business has always been the best when I have a really good focus on key staff or dirty 30 or whatever you're going to call it. But it's a special elite group of individuals that are working towards a common goal. And that's bigger than just their first 2 weeks. So what we're talking about this fall that we're really going to implement is the following. And we talk about this in training. We even talk about this in our interview. But again, never too early to promote. And that is get on key staff. Key staff is the first step to getting into anything you want to in this business, putting yourself in a position of choice. So how do you get promoted to key staff? Well, you get promoted to key staff by being over 1,000 in your career sales, and being outside of your fast start, and making sure that you're positive, you're hardworking, and you communicate. That's it, right? It's the 5 keys. First promotion, outside of your fast start, be positive, hardworking, and communicate. If you can do both of those 5 things, regardless whether or not you hit your goal for your fast start or not, you're on track to be one of our rapidly advancing individuals, right? Or our key staff members. Now, our key staff members, why do you want to be a part of this group? Because you get extra time from the DM, you get more attention from the other top level people on our organization, and you get invited to our key staff, we were going to call it our Dirty 30 meeting, and this happens every Tuesday. Now, in our office, I will do a quick screen share. Actually, I'll do a quick screen share, and I'll show you the schedule and the calendar that we're going to be using. And I think this will be helpful for everybody just to view. So this is actually what we're going to be promoting as our fall schedule. And hopefully it pops up soon. But what we do is we run training on Friday and Saturday. This gives them all of, right, Saturday afternoon, Sunday, and Monday to do demos. So they still have 2.5 days to build their first week's check, right? And then after that, on a Tuesday, they come in for our advanced training. Now we're promoting our advanced training from 3 until 7 or 3:30 until 7. And what they've got is they've got advanced training with our pilot manager. It's going to be from 3:30 until 7 or 3 until 7. That last 30 minutes, though, is actually making phone calls to drive more demos. And they get to do that with overlap of our Dirty 30 or key staff meeting. So this is the most success I've ever had. No matter what day you do it on, having an overlap from your new reps and your veterans. And by having that overlap, that 30-minute phone jam is people making calls, people also doing phone switch for PRs, and people booking up field training. So that way, all of your new reps, right after their first 3 days, dive into booking up a field training with a 5K, 6K, 10K rep. How much more exciting are they to really go big after this job? And how much more of a community have you built before you even get to the team meeting? See, we don't want team meetings to be on Thursday. That's like 7 days since they've started. That's too long to wait to really be a part of the team. So we do this on Tuesday with that overlap. That 30 minutes is them phoning and the Dirty 30 reps phoning, and then we dive into our Dirty 30 meeting at 7 o'clock. Now, our pilot manager and other managers, they're part of our Dirty 30 meeting, but they're the ones booking up all their PCs, so if they show up a little bit late to the Dirty 30, we're all right with that. Our Dirty 30 meeting / key staff is an hour long, and then the 30 minutes afterwards from 8 to 8:30 is when they make a few last phone calls. They're more motivated because of what they learned, and then phoning doesn't take so long. They got 30 minutes on the front end, hour-long meeting, 30 minutes on the back end, and they still knock out their 20 calls. One of the concepts that we're promoting is arrive with 5 and book 5 more. And that's for everything that we do. We do that for advanced trainings. We do that for team meetings. We do that for PCs. Arrive with 5 and book 5 more. Because the concept is if you always arrive with 5 and then book 5 more, you never leave the office with 10 or less than 10 demos ahead, which means you're never in a position where you're going to sell less than $1,000 and you're going to be able to keep your qualification with your key staff in Dirty 30. And we'll talk about those standards in a bit. We also have an MVP night afterwards. I feel like on Thursday nights, a lot of people, especially in the non-summer, are looking forward to a party or they're looking forward to the weekend. They don't really want to hang out with us, but on a Tuesday, hey, it's the middle of the week and it's still fun to go out and hang with some friends. Plus, we're done by 8:30 and we go out maybe to Buffalo Wild Wings. But this is where we're really building our community. We're building our family. We're building up our next layer of managers and development. You know, I think about Kevin Barth right now. He just posted out there that he had a blitz day on Saturday, and then they went to play volleyball nearby for 2 hours afterwards. He has 13 people on pay right now, and most of those people were a part of his key staff in Dirty 30 leading into this transition period, right? How much fun is that? Blitz hard and then go have fun, right? And you're able to do that every single time with a Dirty 30 meeting or key staff meeting. Cool. So that's kind of the standards that we're talking about. Dirty 30, what's the difference between being a key staff and being a Dirty 30? Well, here's what we say. The difference is you have to earn it. How do you earn it? Well, you have to sell over 3K to be in Dirty 30. And you have to make sure that you've been to at least, right, 1 or 2 of these Dirty 30 meetings before. Now, again, key staff gets you invited, but you're not part of our Dirty 30 club until you're over 3K. You've been to a meeting before, and you've become CPR trained and certified. Now, if you don't know what CPR training is, this is something that we've been promoting in our organization. CPR training is not saving somebody's life when it comes to not being able to breathe, but CPR training is saving somebody's life when it comes to being retained for this job and being able to keep them around long enough to advance. So what is it? Well, the C stands for closing. It means that you've memorized pages 8 and 9 and the objections. It means that you have sat down with a manager and in front of them, word for word, with confidence and eye contact, been able to recite pages 8 and 9 without a problem, right? The P stands for phoning. It means that you've sat down with a manager and you've shown confidence in your ability to handle objections on the phone. You've shown confidence with the ability to sit down with people, right, and get them bought in to the phoning, right? And actually being able to get somebody to answer and get 90% of those people to book a demo. And then the R stands for recommendations. Recommendations meaning pages 16 and 17. You've memorized your script word for word, you know how to handle objections, and you're confident with nailing 5, 10, or 15 leads on every demo. Now, somebody needs to qualify for that. We're not going to just promote somebody to our Dirty 30 Club unless they've got closing, phoning, and recommendations down. And I want you to think about this. If your organization and your culture right now is not where you want it to be, well, that's your fault. I firmly believe that every problem in your business is because you created that problem. If you have reps that aren't calling in enough for before, during, after demos, it's because the first time that they did it, you didn't call them out on it, you didn't nip it in the butt. And so before that or after that, they just kept doing it. And now it's become toxic. If you have an issue with reps showing up late to all of your meetings, well, I'll tell you why. The first time it happened, you didn't make a public example out of it in a respectful way. And for that reason, they kept showing up late. Every problem you have in your business is your fault. Every problem you have in your business is a byproduct of you not having standards or not upholding the standards that you say you have. And I'm going to tell you right now that when it comes down to it, uphold better standards with your people initially, and you'll remove so many problems later. You know, another example of this doesn't have to do with key staff, but it's base pay. I used to have an issue with a lot of base pay runners. A lot of people who go out there, go 0 for 5, go 0 for 10. Well, now in training, when I'm explaining the QPR on the second day before I release them, I talk about some stories of people being base pay runners. And I have a rule, guys. In my office, the rule is 5 no sales in a row, not in a week, but 5 in a what? And everybody says row. And I say, great. If you ever have 5 in a row, clearly something's wrong. Cutco's an amazing product. We have things that cost $20. Everybody can afford it. So here's the deal. If you have 5 no sales in a row, stop doing demos. You're not fired. You're not in trouble, but clearly it means something's off. So what you need to do is stop doing demos, come in, meet with the manager before you keep doing it, because I've had 5 no sales in a row and it sucks. And I don't want you to have the same experience ever. So if you have 5 no sales in a row, what do? We stop and we meet with the manager before we keep doing it. Also, you'll notice on the QPR at the bottom, it says 10 no's in the excess of 10 that are not verified by your manager won't count towards base pay. The reason I share that, guys, is because I'm sure none of you would do this, but I did have a rep go out there one time, and the rep didn't call before, during, after any demos, didn't respond to my texts, my phone calls, or any of my communication, and then walked into advanced training with 0 for 20 on their QPR. None of them were sales, and they felt like they should be paid for all of them. Now, to be clear, I've never fired somebody in this job for a lack of sales or a lack of results, but I have definitely fired people for a lack of communication. And that rep who did that, I immediately called them into my office. I grabbed all their stuff. I paid out 10 demos at the base pay, and I fired them on the spot. Because if I can't trust somebody to follow up on a text message or phone call for 3 days, there's no way that I'm going to trust them to borrow $400 with my product. And there's no way that business partnership is going to work out. Now, I doubt any of you guys would do this. However, I just want to explain the consequences if it happens. Are we good on this? Sweet. Now, obvious, guys, most of you are going to sell, and I go back into positivity. But that would be an example of nipping things in the butt well on the front end. Everybody with me on that? All right, cool. So 1 thumbs up. Good. I'm glad I got a good audience. So let's keep going. All right. I know I'm live, so I've got a few minutes left. Let's talk about my agenda. There's the overlap, right? We have the advanced training 1, and then we have right afterwards our top 10 meeting. The expectations of this, right, is somebody needs to be somebody that you want to work with, and it's somebody that's a special invite only. Now, this was an older meeting. If you want to invite your top 10 to this Dirty 30 meeting every week, that's fine. Make it your own program. If you want to make people qualify for Dirty 30 and get into that, that's fine too. But what I'm always looking at is my top 10 reps from each week's roller report, and I invite them. Now, typically, since this meeting happens on Tuesday, they should be targeted on a Sunday night or a Monday to get them in there. All of them are special invites by the district manager or the pilot manager. And what we talk about is arriving with the 4 2s. And we've kind of evolved this over the years. This is from quite a few years ago when I was still a DM, but I still love it. And when Kathy sent it to me, I was like, man, I need to get back to this. So again, everybody arrives with at least 2 demos booked. Everybody arrives with at least 2 names of friends that they want to target. Everybody arrives with at least 2 goals, 1 sales goal and 1 personal goal. And everybody arrives with your next 2 weeks already planned out. That way, we're not wasting time with this meeting. Now, could you evolve that to 5? Sure. 5 demos booked, 5 names of friends that you want to text, right? You could have 5 goals, which could be your phoning goal, your demo goal, your sales goal, your CPO goal, and your recommendations. And then you could also talk about the next 5 days already planned out in your schedule. Right? The promotion is they get more manager time, right? They also earn it because they need to be in the top 10 the following week. all of your reps get publicly recognized at the team meeting that happens on Thursday for their attendance the previous week. And this becomes a promotion. Hey guys, get in the top 10 and you'll get to be a part of this meeting next week as well. It's an opportunity for the DM to really hone in on the CPR training from your best people. And it allows you to teach personal growth in and out of the business, and it creates consistency from all levels. The 80-20 rule is always in effect. So I'm going to review our agenda, and then I'll open it up for some questions. But our agenda is pretty simple. I always thought about, hey, what are the 10 things that I can do? And honestly, looking back at this, it's a little bit too complex and complicated for just a 1-hour meeting. So you can really dumb it down, and I'll teach you how to do that. First thing, opening comments, fun icebreaker. I always like to do high-low. I learned that from Trent Booth. I think there's so much power in that. Hey, real quick, we're not going to have time to share, but I want you all to bust out your notes and write down what was your high of the week. Maybe it was with Cutco, maybe it was outside of Cutco, but what was the highlight? If you were to remember this week off of only one high, what would it be, right? The second one is what's your low? What was the low of the week? Give yourself some parameters. Maybe it was that you got a paper due, in a day late. Or maybe it was the fact that you just, you didn't study enough. Or maybe you broke up with a boyfriend or girlfriend, but what was that low, right? I want you to pick something that you're grateful for. So go ahead and write that down as well. And then the positive attitude exercise. And this is something that I got from Betsy Crouch with Rising Stock a long time ago. She said, every time you're going through your day, if you have a negative thought, write it down. And then immediately after, write down a positive way you could have responded. Because your attitude is like a habit. And you've got to choose to respond more positively to things than negatively. She said, the first time I did it, I thought I was a pretty positive person. And I noticed that more than 50% of my reactions to things were a negative response versus a positive one. So I realized that that was a habit that I needed to get better at, right? But again, teaching through that system. Number 2, introductions of all new reps and new invitations. Hey, I know many of you have been here before. If you've been here before, congrats. Let's give you a 1 clap. 1, 2, 3. And then everybody else that's new, please stand up. I want to go ahead and recognize Jacob Kinnamore. Congrats. You just knocked out 3K in your fast start. By the way, Jacob has some bonus days, so he's going to win the rest of the homemaker. He's here right now because he just knocked out a strong paycheck. And I just want to let you guys know, Jacob is a fighter. Last week, he only went 1 for 5. He wasn't that confident, but then he came to advanced training. This week, knocked out a homemaker, a galley, and a studio set, earning the right to be here. And we're so fired up about him joining our Dirty 30 Club and being a part of the 10K plus reps. 1 clap for him, 1, 2, 3, right? And then you go around and you do everybody, right? Now, this was old school, but we used to really give people permission to think long-term. 5 invites, you got your key staff pin, right? 7 invites, you got the free roll-up packet. 10 invites, you got a free sample kit or a piece of Cutco of their choice. And 15 invites, you got free skydiving or a gourmet set. Now, that means that this person was in your top 10 in sales every week, right, for almost a full campaign. I'm willing to pay out those prizes. And again, this is from a long time ago, but you could create some sort of reward system for coming to it often. Number 3, appreciations and recognition. Appreciating every single rep, right? Kind of like I just did with Jacob, but going around the horn. And the really big thing is making sure that you help that rep understand what progress and potential they still have in areas of improvement. One of my favorite parts of this is I'll take a whiteboard, and on the whiteboard, before people show up for that 30 minutes before the meeting begins, I'm going around the room and having each one of them stop making calls. Hey, real quick, Kathy, come on up. I just wanted to talk real quick. We're going to put it up on the board for awareness. But last week, how many total calls did you make? Okay, got it. 56. How many total demos did you book up? Okay, got it. So we booked up 7. How many got completed? All right, so we completed 4. How many sales? 3. Nice job, 75%. All right, what'd you sell? All right, 1,002. So you hit the newsletter, great job. How many referrals did you get? Oh, you got 35. Okay, great. And how many demos do you have ahead of you? Okay, perfect. And I'll put that on there. By the way, what's one goal that you'd like to have your first of this week? You want to sell your first cookware set? I love that. I'm going to put that on there. Perfect. Thanks so much. High five. Keep making calls. And I'll go to the next person. And I'm working the room to get everybody's numbers on the board. And the reason this works so well is because now everybody on the board, you can imagine having 5 people or 10 people all on there. You've got all of their numbers. And so what they now have is awareness on who's really good at phoning, or who's really good at closing, or who's crushing recommendations. So while they're sitting through this meeting, they're staring at a board with all the results, and they're figuring out, who do I need to go field training with? Who do I need to network with? Who do I need to meet and ask questions for, right? So that has to do with the accountability. The last couple of things that we'll do here is 15 minutes of role play. So again, we'll just cycle through the 4 stages of the job, but recommendations, closing, phoning, and time management. And really it's just 3. So it's a never ending cycle. And all of our veterans are working with the newbies, and all of the newbies are learning some of the advanced tips from our vets. But again, you're never too good to train. I always use the analogy of nurses or police officers or firefighters or doctors, right? Why do they, and even teachers, why do they have to recertify every few years? Because they know that people can get out of bad habit or out of good habits and out of practice. So it's legal, right? When it's a big job and responsibility like that, legally, they have to recertify, they have to retrain, they have to retest. So why aren't we doing that for our people? You'd be shocked. I think if you looked at your campaign to date top 25, and you were to go through it right now, and you were to call them up and ask them who's got the recommendation script memorized, very few of your 10K plus reps actually have it. I know our CSPs struggle with this all the time. It's so irritating when I talk to somebody at 500,000 or $1 million and they tell me that they're out of leads. You know why? Because they stopped asking for names. They thought that they had too many, so they stopped asking. Why would you ever stop asking for recommendations? And it's been so long since they've asked, they've completely lost confidence with the program. So again, giving them a position and a platform to relearn this all of the time. Last few things we do is we do tips from the top. The number 1 rep shares a big tip that helped them for the previous week. And then we wrap up with a personal growth talk. I'm not going to teach you how to do that personal growth message, but here's something that's worked very well for me. We do a book of the campaign, and I've only really picked one book. It's by John C. Maxwell, and it's called The 15 Irrefutable Laws of Personal Growth. And here's why I love it. There's 17 weeks for the campaign. There's 15 irrefutable laws. You don't need to know a previous law to understand and get value from the next law. And typically out of 17 weeks, we probably run only about 15 key staff or Dirty 30 meetings. So it works out perfect. And if you're on a rolling replay of that, you learn so many laws, and relearning the laws for your veterans is not a bad thing. And I love it because I've got an outline. You could even buy the Cliff Notes on it, and you could just read the Cliff Notes for 5 minutes on one chapter, and then they can read that book later on. But that's worked very, very well for us with personal growth. Last thing I love doing at the end of every meeting, even this one, is going around the horn. And before we jump back into phone time, I say, great, guys, well, let's talk about our biggest takeaway from today's meeting. And the reason I love it so much is because everybody that was a part of the meeting gets to highlight their one tip. A lot of people might have the same tip, but oftentimes it might be different. And now you're getting basically a summary and a review of the whole meeting and putting that together. Last thing we'll do is the scheduling, 5 minutes to look at your plan and make sure you've got all your demo spots planned out. You know what your goals are, and then accountability for for next week, right? What we'll do is we'll erase that board and we'll go through and put goals up. And I'll do that for the last 30 minutes of the meeting. So everybody disperses, makes phone calls. I'll call people up. Hey, Jacob, come on up. Thanks for the goals last week. We just took a photo. We're going to post it in the group me. But real quick, for the next 7 days, how many calls you planning to make? 100. Perfect. How many demos? Okay, good. How many sales? CPO, recommendations? Awesome. Hey, what's your first you want to do? All right, cool. You want to sell your first ultimate? High five, man. Keep kicking ass. Hey, by the way, tell Kathy to come on in. Tell Roman, actually. I want to meet with him. Tell him to come on up, and I can meet with him real quick. And then we are done, and we're done with phoning, and then we go out and have some fun together. So I know I have a couple last minutes. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I've got the time if you've got Q&A, Kathy, but that's kind of the rundown. And I've done similar styles of this over the years. What I've found that works the most is if you're not going to follow that agenda, here's the 4 main things that must get accomplished. Number 1 is in every single higher level meeting, there has to be recognition. Okay, no matter what. You've got to appreciate and thank people, and you've got to talk about vision. Why you're here, where we are, and where we're going. Number 2, there has to be accountability. They're looking for tougher coaching. They're looking to be held to higher standards. So however you do that, accountability is up to you. Maybe it's a sheet of paper they fill out and they give to you. Maybe it's the board example that I taught on my blue wall with nothing written on there, but you get the point. Okay. The third thing is you have to help them grow. That can be personal growth. That could be financial growth. That could be professional growth. If you're a manager that's new and you're like, I don't have the confidence for that. Well, here's what you do. Find a talk on YouTube, right? Or find a talk on TED Talks or find one on Vector Connect and listen to that. It doesn't take a lot of time to prepare your meetings. And here's what's funny. The next 17 weeks are probably going to be the same as the spring 17 weeks in 2020. So why not just make an agenda for 17 weeks, put it together, and have a different talk to go to, and then you've got the whole thing written, and you could pass it off to a sales manager or somebody else in the future. And the fourth thing that needs to happen is you need to make sure that they have goals. You need to make sure that you've gone through their schedule. They know what their goals are, what they're capable of, when they're making calls, how many calls they're planning to make, and you know what they're trying to achieve that week. So that way you can hold them accountable to that, and you can follow up with them and make sure that they're tied in and following through with what they say they're going to do. These are your top 10 reps or your top slice, top 20%. And if you talk to any office manager, they know that the majority of their profit and their sales comes from their top 20%. If you were to look at how many reps you launched this summer, and then you were to add up the total sales, and you were to compare that to your top 25 reps this summer and add up their total sales, you'll notice that your top 25 probably did 70, 80 to 90% of your sales report this summer. And so my question is, did 70, 80, or 90% of your time and your energy and your accountability and your PDI and your PC time go into those people? And if the answer is no, well, that's where we left business on the table. If we would have put more time into those guys, they would have sold even more. My job is not to make everybody succeed. My job is to give everybody an opportunity to succeed and then put in the majority of my time into the ones who really want it bad enough. And I'll leave you with one last quote before we open it up. I just thought of this recently, and I told it to all of my trainees just now. And I looked at them and I said, don't question our programs. We know our programs work. The question you should be asking is, are you working the program? So again, I'll say that. Don't question our programs. We know our programs work. The question you should be asking is, are you working the program? And I think the same thing can be said for us as a management team. We just got back from kickoff. Lloyd wrote an agenda that had less talks and more talking and more implementation, less teaching, right, and more applying. We're the number one region in the company. We have the number one product in the universe. We've had the best division manager team that's ever been put together, in my opinion. We have all the answers. So if your business isn't where you want it to be, it's not a question of the right program. It's a question of implementing the program and working it. So I'm around for another few minutes if you need, Kathy. I think that was exactly 30. I hope that was helpful. And here you go.
Thank you. I have a question for you. So you mentioned you're inviting, this would be like your key staff meeting, correct?
Yep.
And then it says top 10 meeting agenda, but these aren't just your top 10 reps. These are just anyone you invite to it, correct?
Yep. Yeah. This was from a while back, and this was my top 10 because that was a concept that Drew had just mentioned, like your top slice or your starters for the field. Nowadays, it's key staff or dirty 30, just getting people to be CPR trained. But I don't think that it matters who you've got there. What I think matters is you make people feel special for being there, and you make sure you recognize them for investing in their time and their future. So whether it's invite my top 10 on the roller report from the previous week, or it is, sometimes that can be messed up because we've got some CSPs and it's like they're not going to be able to make it in for that with their busy schedules. But I really like the idea of 1K equals key staff, 3K equals 30-30, right? And then we talk about how AMIT can begin at 6K and AM really starts at 10K. So you've got an additional incentive to each of those promotions.
You guys gonna ask some questions? You're gonna implement this right away?
This is good.
Mm-hmm.
I like the CPR.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. My message that well, huh? Okay.
Yeah, awesome. Other questions. So I wanted to see, because I like inviting all people to it. What time did you say you start this meeting?
So we promote it on Tuesday nights, 6:30 till 8:30. 30 minutes phone time, hour-long meeting, and then 30 minutes phone time. So essentially, they split a full hour to phone, but it's split up. And that also allows it to be overlapped with advanced training 1, and then allows me to have time at the beginning to make one-on-one connections while they're phoning, to put their numbers up on the board, and allows me time at the end to make one-on-one connections and make sure I got their goals up there as well.
Cool.
And then we go out afterwards for MVP night. I'll also say that any meeting is better than no meeting. Dan Cassetta has some amazing videos out on Vector Connect you can watch about key staff. He said in his program, he used to run key staff every other week, and it was always linked to the team meeting. And it was the easiest way to run it because reps are already there. You just pull them into your office for a quick 30-minute blitz, make them feel special, hold them to higher standards, and talk to them about their future. It'll only take 30 minutes, but again, any meeting is better than no meeting.
So Nick, real quick. So whenever you have like staff, let's say you just don't have 10, you have like 5 or 7, are you plugging in? Hey, by the way, like you go over like, hey, appreciate you guys for coming. I'm really excited to grow. Do you ever plug in like, hey, I'm actually looking I want like 3 or 4 more, as you guys know, assistant managers. Do you ever plug in like, hey, like be on the lookout? You know, I value your opinion, obviously, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Do you ever kind of plug that in and then have reps come to you like, hey, I think, you know, this guy would be good or this guy? Do you ever kind of plug that, or are you guys, you and your AM team, kind of really the final say who gets invited to this meeting?
Yeah, I mean, anybody. Listen, we already have enough of an issue with retaining people. So anybody that's eager to grow and wanting to come, then I think that could be a little bit of a push away. So if they're coming to you and saying, hey, I've heard a lot about this meeting, that's awesome. How do I get there? Oh man, I'm so glad that you asked. And then you can think about what they need to do to earn it. But at the same time, I require my staff to come to our Dirty 30 or key staff meeting every week, because if you're on staff, you need to be leading by example. And honestly, your number one responsibility is to be selling Cutco. So of course we want you there. You're expected to be there, right? And you know, to try to get your reps that you're coaching to go with you. So yeah, if you just use it as an open invitation, I think that it can water down the exclusivity of it and getting people bought in. So a lot of times when somebody comes to me or an AM comes to me and say, hey, I want one of my guys there. All right, perfect. Let's talk about the steps necessary to getting them there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Is your staff coming in 3 days then? Staff meeting and this and team meeting?
Yeah, it's typically, well, the key staff meeting is on Tuesdays. Staff meeting is on the same day as the team meeting. It's right before. So that's only a second day. And then they have a third day that they're in the office depending on their schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, but we used to do staff meetings on Monday nights or Friday mornings. And it just became a little bit too complex for them to make it into the office like every day of the week. So we put staff meetings on Thursdays now, and it works out great. That's non-summer, by the way. It's a little bit different in the summer. Yeah, and if you look at the schedule, I know Jordan took a photo of it and stuff. Staff meeting is on Thursday from 4 to 6. There's a 30-minute break, and then our team meeting is from 6:30 to 9.
Yeah, I don't want to. We have our fall schedule, so I don't want to change everything, but we'll talk about that. But there's a place to put it on, so we'll talk about schedule stuff.
Cool. Yeah, listen to Kathy. She's amazing.
Any other things in terms of the actual meeting itself? We said people that are officially on here. You said they're over $3,000. They're CPR trained, and there was another thing.
They've been to one meeting. That's the Dirty 30 Club. He split it up, key staff, and then there's the Dirty 30 Club.
So key staff means you're over your first promotion and you're outside of your staff. And to be a key staff member, it means you're invited to come to these really awesome meetings. But to actually be, I guess, enrolled in the Dirty 30 Club, you need to make sure that you're over 3K and you're CPR trained and you've come to at least one meeting previously. The reason we do that is we don't want some high flyer to go out there and have a 10K fast start and then just come to the first meeting and be like, oh, you're in. Like there should be a little bit more,
For sure. So, but you're calling, because we used to do Rising Star Key Staff, so you're calling it Key Staff and then Dirty 30.
Yep.
Cool.
And you can call it Rising Star Key Staff, but there's elements to the program.
Cool.
Yep.
Other things from you guys?
And you said you're running your Dirty 30 meeting the same day as you run advanced training?
Yeah, so I really like that overlap. We used to do that on Mondays, now we do it on Tuesdays. But I think having that overlap, it gets more bodies in the office. As we know, that creates more culture. And it also gives that overlap time of 30 minutes for them to book up field trainings. And one of the things we really try to encourage our Dirty 30 or key staff members to do is to target at least one fast starter and take them on a field training. And most of those guys already have demos booked up, so they can just come up and say, you know, hey, Julie, my name is Nick. Nice to meet you. Hey, congrats on your first weekend. I've got a demo coming up on Thursday, 2 on Friday, and 1 on Saturday. I'd love for you to come and watch the appointment and learn from it. Is there any way you've got time for that? And if they're doing that, they're already booking that up for the weekend, like 3 or 4 days in advance. So there's typically not any of the conflicts with schedules.
Thank you.
Yep. But I really like that overlap.
Yeah, overlap's huge. That's why we do PSP back to back with, when we could, or we did just do staff all night. Any other questions you guys have before we say bye-bye to Nick? Bye-bye to Nick. Nick, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We're going to chat about this now, so I really appreciate you taking time. Did you have a question, or you just want to wave to him?
I just was waiting to.
Okay. All right, awesome. You can stop.
Good luck on your fall. We got a boat to catch. Excited for you.
Yep.
All right.
Heck yeah. Thank you, babe.
For what you're saying on your personal growth on, is there like a certain selection of 10 to 20 topics that?
Well, he just said he does the 15